Welcome back to Anything Outdoors with Steve. I am Daniel. Today I'm in Stuttgart, Germany. I just arrived from Amsterdam just a few minutes ago. Had a little bit of a snaggle or two flying over here, but here I am. And it is such a wonderful evening. And this is such a lovely hotel. I thought that I would walk around the garden and give you a little quick tour. How about that? Sharing is caring. I just came over on the tail end of a trip to China, and then Korea, and then Texas, and then home to swap my bags, and I headed over here the last minute. I'm going to be in Germany for this week at least, and possibly next week as well, and then maybe the UK after that. We'll see. The schedule's kind of up in the air, so to speak. Anyway, I'm happy to be in Stuttgart right now. The fresh air is indescribable. It smells so wonderful, having been cooped up in a sardine can flying across the ocean. Birds are singing. It just finished raining, and the smell is wonderful. So fresh. Still dew on the flowers. Rain on the flowers. Sorry, I'm a little bit brain dead. Yeah, I'm a little bit jet lagged, as in a lot jet lagged, and a bit experiencing some diminished cognition, so to speak. But a good night's sleep or two should take care of that. Anyway, I'm going to walk around the hotel, see if there's something to eat. I'm guessing there's a nice restaurant in this fancy hotel. We'll find out. So this is the Wald Hotel on the outskirts. It's kind of southeast of Stuttgart proper. When I come to a place like Stuttgart or Munich or cities like this, I try, if I can, to stay in the outskirts, kind of towards the countryside, so you have one leg in the city and one leg in the country. But yeah, I think this is a winner. This is the first time for me to visit this hotel, but it comes highly recommended by a friend of mine down in München, and his advice is usually spot on, and it was this time. The Wald Hotel in Stuttgart. So thank you, Karl Heinz, for the fantastic advice. As always, your advice is spot on. This is a fantastic hotel. Very nice place out in the country. The birds are singing. Wow, what a fantastic place to be. It almost feels like I'm on vacation, and I'm not. Well, I've definitely stayed in worse places than this, I can tell you that. Looks like we are surrounded by woods and farms and football pitches. Somebody has some serious football going on here. Yeah, if you're unaware, I'm not really a football fan. For Americans, that's soccer. But Europeans are, they enjoy their football. Let's just say they are ardent fans, leave it at that. Once I was visiting Barcelona, and I saw these t-shirts of Barcelona, whatever their football team is. I don't even know. Sorry, Barcelona. I'm not a football guy, but I thought, oh, that's kind of a cool t-shirt. And I was kind of on the tail end of a business trip. I thought, oh, I'll just snag that and wear that when I arrive in Frankfurt. And I got to Frankfurt, and I went out to meet some of my German friends, and they stopped dead in their tracks and swore at me profusely in German. Said, what in the hell are you wearing? Are you trying to get killed? Then I realized, oh crap, is this the enemy? They said, yes, but we won't kill you. We won't kill you today. We'll give you a warning. We'll let you off with a warning. So this hotel is surrounded by farms and football fields, and looks like all kinds of sports parks and things like that. Very green. The air is incredibly fresh. What a wonderful place. I've certainly stayed in worse hotels than this. One that comes readily to mind was, oh, maybe, how many years has that been? 15, maybe 20 years back. I was in China, and my office was in Shanghai, but I went out on the road for a day trip with one of my female colleagues in Shanghai, and it was just going to be a day trip. Flew in the morning, visited the customer, and we're going to fly back. When we got to the airport, all of the flights were canceled for the night. All of them, everything shut down. So oh crap, what are we going to do? And we asked the hotel, we asked the airport people, can we stay here overnight? Nope. Have to get out, have to clear out. Okay, great. So we didn't have any overnight gear, of course, no clothes other than those on our backs, and just our business briefcases and computers, that's it. So we hopped in a taxi and we drove around the town. This is way back in the day before you could book things online, and it was a really remote city, so it's not the kind of city that would be plugged in. In fact, probably to this day you'd be hard pressed to book a lot of those hotels online. So we drove around with a taxi, and we just drive from hotel to hotel. Everyone that the taxi driver knew, he'd just take us to the next one, and we'd run and say and ask, do you have any rooms available? Nope, sorry, mail, Debshi. And so we were getting desperate. We rode around for, oh man, probably 2 hours looking for hotels. And finally we stopped. The taxi driver said, I don't know any more hotels. And he stopped and asked another taxi driver, and the other taxi driver gave him directions. And we drove to this recycling center, like a scrap yard, junkyard where they'd bring garbage and separate trash from recyclable things, and and right behind that was a hotel. My goodness, it was a dubious lodging, to be certain, but we were desperate. It was either that or spend the night on the street, because there's no such thing as an all-night diner or something like that. I mean, when everything was already closed up for the night, there's nothing going. It would either be ride around in taxis all night, which was actually one of our options, or see if this hotel had a room. We went in, and it was awful, just an awful, disgusting place. And we asked, "You have a room?" And they said, "We have one." And I looked in shock at my colleague, and she looked in shock at me, and she said, "I'm so tired." I said, "I'm too. Let's go." And so we just booked this room, and it's so disgusting that we didn't even pull the blanket down. We just left the blanket there, just collapsed on the bed, because we were so tired, both of us. We just absolutely collapsed and fell into miserable sleep, in our business clothes. In our business clothes. And in the middle of the night, I had to pee. Sorry for the disclaimer. I guess I should give you a trigger warning. There will be some urinary discussion here, mild urinary discussion. I needed to pee and got up in the night. I didn't want to wake my colleague, because she was exhausted, snoring on the bed, and it's awful enough as it is. Went into the bathroom and closed the door, and I could see, there's enough ambient light that I could see what I was doing, and I started to pee. Sorry for the graphics. And while I was in midstream, the light in the bathroom downstairs turned on, and I realized there was a great big crack in front of my toilet. I had to be a good 3 inches space, a hole where I could peer down from my bathroom into the bathroom below, and some lady beneath me had the same biological requirements at the same time. And oh man, I realized what a awful predicament I was in. and I went to the side of the toilet, because, well, man, I shouldn't have told this story. It's too dirty, I guess. No, I was afraid if I stopped peeing, pee might drip and go down on this poor lady who was directly below me. So I just kind of walked to the side and finished up, and then went out as sheepishly. And the lady below apparently was oblivious to the embarrassment that she had suffered, and I as well. But boy, sorry about that story. I don't know if I'll even put that on. I'll let Steve decide. Yeah, leave it up to Steve's discretion. So while I was rambling on with the dirty stories about vile hotels and disgusting toilets, I wandered into very beautiful woods. Behind my hotel, there's this wonderful wood. Look at that. How about that? I almost followed the slothful choice of walking from my hotel room to the hotel restaurant, getting dinner and wrapping things up for the night, but I decided instead to explore, and I'm happy that I did. I've been rewarded with this very beautiful trail. Wow, what a beautiful place. The temperature is perfect. The air is fresh, crisp. there's such a profound contrast between maneuvering your way from airport to airport, climbing into one airplane after another, and then coming into the seclusion and the tranquility of a forest after a rainstorm. What a wonderful feeling. Happy to have the airplane rides behind me for a few days. Had put in my share of mileage for the past few weeks. We're going to be in Stuttgart for a few days, and then we're going to drive. I have a rent car. We're going to drive down to München. We'll spend the weekend in München, depending on which friends in Munich. I'm sorry, Munich. In Munich area, depending on which friends are around, will determine what kind of adventure I have. I plan on getting some adventures. Maybe I'll see a castle. I'm hoping that I can take you down and show you Liechtenstein Castle, which is actually a palace. It always annoys me that people call palaces castles. Castles were built for defense. Palaces were built for luxury and opulence. That's my hotel over there. Although I'm here on business on this trip to Europe, I brought a couple of GoPros with me just in case, and I shall avail myself of every opportunity to get out and adventure and smell the roses. I'm looking forward to the weekend. I do have a couple of free days on the weekend, which will kind of be, combined a little bit with business, but business, you shouldn't separate business completely from pleasure, in my humble opinion. All right, I smell something very fine. Aromas fine, wafting from this place. It looks pretty good to me. Let me go check it out.